أكيد هذا اليوم هو من أحلى أيام حياتي.
This is not a dating place, it's a marriage space.
يلا.
What do you think about your career?
شو انترفيو شغل؟
أن ياخذون موافقة أهلهم ويخطبون بعض.
هل يا ترى راح يقررون يكملون هذه التجربة يوصلون إلى عقد القران أو كتب الكتاب؟
أهم شيء تاخذي القرار الصحيح.
My heart was telling me go, but my head telling me don't.
Hey everyone, this is Rock from StageandSky.com, and we gotta talk about this show called Love is Blind Habibi. Now, for those who don't know, I'm not a big Love is Blind or reality dating show kind of guy, but last year I started dating someone, I got married to that person, and she put me on to Love is Blind. So all last year, for about over a year, I've been watching season after season after season, and honestly, the first season wasn't that bad, but as you progress in the season, I mean, it's the way of the culture, right? People learn from other people's mistakes. There's so much that's going in. The whole premise of Love is Blind Habibi should be on its surface, a good thing. It's just like with dating apps. On its surface, dating apps should be a good thing. It's just how you use it, right? So after watching American series and then going through all of those seasons, I started watching Love is Blind Habibi. We got through all the episodes, and me and my wife absolutely loved it. Now, again, for those who don't know me, I'm Christian. I'm not Arab, I'm not from the Middle East, I don't believe in the Quran or Allah, right? But still, I loved this show. Why? Because the men in this show, like, they just were men. This is a show that I don't think feminist, and a lot of the content creators, and if you Google Love is Blind Habibi, there's a bunch of Reddit posts that basically bash this show. They say that the men are toxic and controlling and oppressive, and, you know, the women just own the show, you know, and the women put the men in their place. No, that's not the case. I encourage everyone to watch it for yourselves, so don't just take my word for it, and don't just read the blogs. Watch it for yourself. Make up your own mind. Think about these things. Let's just get into it, okay? First point is, are traditional men hypocrites, okay? Again, if you Google Love is Blind Habibi right now, one of the first entries you'll see in the search engine at the top of Google is a Reddit post, and it's called Love is Blind Habibi is the worst of the franchise. That's BS, all right? Anyone who saw the season with Zainab and those harpies all in that season, that's the worst season. By far. This Reddit post is saying, oh, Love is Blind Habibi is the worst franchise. I wonder why. The writer starts off saying the men were mentally abusive and controlling. And that right there tells you all you need to know. Plainly put, Love is Blind Habibi clearly illustrates how much feminism has ruined relationships between men and women around the world. Not just in America, but around the world. Why? Because, pay attention, if you want a traditional man, the kind of man who will protect and provide, then you have to be a traditional woman. This is a woman who prioritizes faith and the family over her career and other worldly desires, the pursuit of money and pleasure and entertainment, right? Though that's not the kind of woman that traditional men want. Here you have a lot of ladies that, you know, will criticize the men. Oh, you're hypocrites, right? I've seen plenty of thumbnails and commenters saying, oh, they're hypocrites because they themselves, the men, aren't traditional. How is it fair that a man like Amar, this beast of a man, you know, good looking guy, he's running around with his shirt off on the beach, right? How is it fair that he can do that, but he has a problem if his women do it? This is a very childish way of thinking, all right? Because by that logic, all parents are hypocrites. We're saying that, you know, children can't do this, like watch a rated R movie, but parents can. That's hypocritical. How is it fair that parents can say this, but they say that their children can't? That's not a hypocrite, all right? Hypocrite is saying all people shouldn't watch rated R movies, but then I go and do it. No, children are different from parents, just like men are different from women. Vice versa. So people say, oh, you're saying that women are children? No, I'm just saying that we're different. Men act like this, women act like that. It used to be that way for generations. We understood this, but over the last 30 years, here in America and around the world, people started to just throw that out the window and say, oh, we can do whatever men want. Anything a man can do, we can do. And look at us. Look at us right now. Marriage rate's down. Divorce rates are up. People are having sex outside of wedlock. The black community is crap because to over 70% of children being born. Well, I can keep going. Hang on, Rock. She can't have her own life. She can. However, listen closely, okay? She can have her own life. However, if she wants a man and expects him to do things for her, that man is going to expect things from her in return. Spoiler, I'm not talking about sex, because a lot of people say, oh, well, no, ladies. This is the saddest thing about our culture, too, is because a lot of women have been led to believe that all men want from you is your bodies. No, that's not all men want from you. And it's sad because your mothers used to teach you this. This is important because if you take that off the table, if you take sex off the table, a lot of women today are at a lost words for when it comes to figuring out what men want from them. All right, and to be fair, that is not just all women's fault because it's just the culture. It's Hollywood, right? You're being trained and indoctrinated to think that you shouldn't care what men want. Thus, you don't know. To be clear, I'm not saying that it's wrong to have expectations of your husband, but if men reveal what they want from their wives and it conflicts with how she wants to live, the men are often met with shame, guilt, and insults. This is true. We all know this. For example, you have so-called conservatives like Tommy Loren here bashing young men for being pussified.
I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. I see that as being actually masculine. That's like the man that
So remember, masculinity is only celebrated when it's in the service of women.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but Andrew, you were shaking your head quite vigorously. Why?
Covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. What I want is for men to protect me, and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What are we getting from women for doing that?
Even other men mock him like, oh, well, why do you want something in return? Because we're human. This is dumb. Like, what world do you live in where you think you could just take advantage of other people, gender, demographic, and expect nothing in return? That people should invest in you and you should do nothing for them. What world? Who taught you this? And as much as American women like to say, well, you know what the problem in America is? Because the men in America, they're not like their fathers. Okay, fine. Go watch Love is Blind Habibi, right? Because there you'll see the Arab men there, they are like their fathers. They want what their fathers had. But unfortunately, they're dealing with feminist corrupted women who want to be liberal in their lifestyles while prioritizing their careers and fun, and yet they still want their men to be traditional.
And I decided that we shouldn't continue together. Because I choose dance, I choose art, and I chose my life, honestly.
In Love is Blind Habibi, I saw a group of men who led with faith, tradition, and culture. That's why the internet is calling them toxic, mentally abusive, controlling. Trust me, they say the same thing about most of American men, and a lot of them do, but by and large, they would say this about all of us if most American men also led by their faith and tradition, because the Bible calls us to be the leaders of our households, and that wives are to submit to their husband's leadership. That concept alone is why a lot of people, including those who call themselves Christians, they absolutely hate godly men. Taylor, what's her face? So, oh, godly men is a red flag.
I'm less and less interested in religious men, if I'm being honest with you.
Are you religious?
Not really. No.
So
I would say I'm a person of faith, but I'm not.
Okay.
I was raised in a Baptist church, very, very religious family. I don't think that just because you're a Christian that you are, not living a good life. I'm just saying, if that's the first thing that you bring to the table, it's a red flag for me.
And you have a lot of Christians, a lot of females. Trust me, I dated them, where, oh, I like Bible, but I don't like what the Bible says about how men are supposed to lead and women are supposed to be submissive. They don't like that part. Well, I'm like, all right, well, you're rejecting God's word. Your problem isn't with me. Your problem was with God. And I can't accept you as you are. Thus, Jesus Christ's warnings ring true for a lot of relationships in America, where he said you can't serve two masters. You can't be both a Christian and part of this world, aka feminist. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you'll be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. That's at Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. All right, so what is Love is Blind? For those who don't know, Love is Blind is a reality show where young singles are put in dates in these spot pods, like you have up on the screen right here. These are called pods. So you don't know what the other person looks like. You're just vetting this person out. You're talking to them. You're trying to see if you're compatible. All right. And if you are compatible, after like so many dates, you get engaged. And then if you get engaged, that's when you get to meet each other in person for the first time. It's called the reveal, where you get to see who's this person you've been talking to on these dates. And this is where the concept comes from. Love is blind. Oh, I see you for the first time. I still love you. Now, obviously, spoiler alert, love is not blind. All right, your attraction, your looks do matter, and you're gonna see throughout the show constantly. Because a lot of the shows, when they get together and they get engaged and they go all the way down to the season where, oh, do you take this man? I'm sorry, I can't. And they'll come up with every kind of BS excuse, but really we all know you're just not attracted to the person. So you're lying through your teeth. Love is Blind is a treasure trove of valuable lessons that should be taught to anyone who hopes to understand the dynamics between men and women. And the most obvious takeaway, if you haven't already guessed, is that everyone sides mostly with women. No, I'm not saying that all men are perfect and they're without flaws. I'm not saying that at all. But when it comes to sympathy, when it comes to support, when it comes to, oh, there's a problem in a relationship, men wants this, women wants this, most people side with women. That's just the way our culture has been for so long. They'll say, oh, it's our turn, whatever, but that's the way it is. And when that happens, there's very little accountability. No one wants to call out women for their BS because everyone's afraid of being called misogynist or oppressing her freedom to live or do whatever she wants. Online, you might find in the comment section some people holding her accountable, but that's not what makes it the headlines, right? Even on the reunion shows, flipping Nick Lachey, I used to be like 98 Degrees, but they always take the women's side, you know, and then they get the men to apologize. The men are taking the task, right? The men are, oh, well, how do you think you did? You know, don't you think that you shouldn't have done that? The good-natured Cole here is the biggest example of the male victim of someone who's just talked. This guy was gaslit and dealt with all kinds of mental abuse, not just from Zenab, the girl that he matched with, but also other females in the season. That's why I'm like, that's the worst season. I'm not sure what you guys talking about. That's the worst season. All the women just ganged up on him, and even that punk, like the guy who dated the woman, this tall, lanky-looking dude. I don't have his name up. I have his picture up here. This guy was all, oh, Cole, you were horrible. Basically taking his woman's side, not even hearing Cole's point of view, just whipped. God, I hate men like that. Because Cole was a good person. He's a nice person, and they just tore him to shreds. Look at this guy's image. The tears, horrible. Horrible what they did to that man. God. All right, so why am I pointing this out? First off, it explains why most American men, they don't do the follow-up shows. They don't go to TikTok and post, oh, this is what my point of view, and this is what happened from my... No, they don't do that. Why? Because they're not going to get any sympathy point. There's no benefit. Society does not care about men and whatever they got going on. They mostly take the women's side, unless it's egregious and there's another woman involved, and then, okay. Like, if it's just a single guy, then I don't care. But if there's another woman involved and she's also a victim, then yeah, how dare you? Most men are aware that they aren't going to get any sympathy points. No one gives a F about how they feel or what they want. It doesn't further their career, nor do most of them have spiteful desire to make the women out to be a bad guy.
That men have a different biological instinct to women, and we're prepared to suffer for the greater good. Women are not very good at suffering. Men are good sufferers. Happy wife, happy life is true. And the reason it's true is because if the wife is unhappy, everyone's miserable, because she'll make sure of it. But if the man's unhappy, everyone else can be happy. He'll suffer, and everyone else gets to be happy. Women are spiteful sufferers.
All right, next point. They prioritize fame, clout, and fun over getting married. Another thing you notice when it comes to Love is Blind, not just Love is Blind Habibi, they're not as serious when it comes to actually finding a spouse and getting married. Don't get me wrong, I think everyone signs up with that intent. You know, although optimistic, you hope you find someone, but some are more serious than others. It's very much like the real world when you go out on a date, right? You know, like some people date with the main intent on getting married, but others prioritize dating for the attention, the new experiences. They prioritize dating when it comes to bedroom fun and all the premarital sex you can get. When it comes to Love is Blind Habibi, the show pays for the honeymoon, the retreat where, okay, we're engaged. Right after that, you go straight to a honeymoon. This is not a surprise, right? Thus, the participants know if I get engaged, I'm going on a free retreat. If you don't get engaged, well, that's the end of your airtime. No more interviews, no more attention. The show has established a culture of individuals becoming insta-famous on social media platforms after appearing on the program. Thus, you risk not getting any of that if you don't get engaged. Why am I pointing this out? Because you're going to see that a lot of people, men and women, they change up their personalities only after they get engaged, as if their primary goal wasn't to get married, but simply to stay a part of the show, right? That's what all they cared about, was just to get famous, the clout and attention. When you watch Love is Blind and see the arguments progress, it's pretty clear who's looking for clout when one person cares more about how they're perceived by others, like the viewers, more so than the person you're with. For example, Virginia and Devin here, right?
Devin told me a lot about his core values. Something that he did not want to talk about on camera. I still to this day don't really feel comfortable telling you Devin's views, but I will be really clear about mine.
Okay.
I 100% support the LGBTQ community. I also believe that women should have the decision to choose if they want to have an abortion or not. I also believe that different religions should be valued. That is our different ways of communicating to God, like different languages.
Virginia clearly cares more about representing the LGBTQ community and the Democrat Sisterhood than getting married. She knew where Devin, her man, stood as a Christian and the conservative values long before they made it to the altar. So why go so far to go to the altar just to say no to him? She brought up some stupid excuse about, oh, well, there's a check involved. And he didn't. No, we all know. And so badly you want to tell him, okay, well, congratulations. You got the love of the sisterhood, but no husband. Was it worth it? I hope it's worth it. So, after watching all of American seasons, right, of Love is Blind America, my wife got me in the Love is Blind Habibi spinoff, and right away, I loved it. Again, I'm not Muslim, I don't believe in the Quran or Allah, but what I respect as a Christian more than anything in this messed up world is people living by the principles that they profess that they have, alright? So let's get into it. Point number one, they refrain from having sex before marriage, right? Even when they get engaged and they go to retreat, they get into pods and they have their own rooms. That's awesome. You know, you like to see that because there's a lot of wisdom when it comes to waiting till marriage to have sex. And again, it puts American Christians to shame because that's what we should be doing, right? Like, you should be waiting till marriage to have sex, but everyone wants to use the excuse of, oh, well, if I don't have sex with them, I'll lose a guy, or it's the way the world is. And it's like, yeah, but you stick to what God tells you. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 tells you all about it. So why do I say that waiting gives you power? For starters, it doesn't blind you from the red flags of how terrible this potential spouse is. If sex isn't on the table, you likely aren't going to sit there and put up with months of rude behavior, the lack of reciprocity, or prolonged mistreatment, right? You have the greater strength, men and women, to walk away. I think we as Americans know this to be true. I've written about it before, but I think the reason why Hollywood is constantly promoting premarital sex, immoral sex, in every kind of show, when it comes to Teen Titans or Euphoria, they're promoting it. All it's in your face, it's everywhere. Video games, is because they want to keep the power of relationships in the hands of women. There's a saying, women are the gatekeepers of sex, but men are the gatekeepers of relationships. Women are the ones who say yay or nay to sex while you're dating her. Men are the ones who say yay or nay when it comes to getting down to one knee and proposing to her. So, if you can convince a society that marriage is not important, but sex is, let me back that up. If you can convince our current society that marriage isn't that important, but sex, yeah, you can have sex whenever, so sex is important. If you can convince our generation that marriage is not important, but sex is, guess which gender has most of the power when it comes to the relationship? In Love is Blind Habibi, women do not have that power. Women can say yay or nay to marriage too, but how likely are they to propose to the men, alright? Who's the one who's expected to propose? If women are waiting and relying on men to propose, then guess what? The men have the power. Don't like that. This show is toxic. Ugh. Next point. They prioritize faith and tradition. Not just men, but the women do too. I saw the woman who actually got married at the end. She was praying. It was nice to see. I don't believe in Quran, not Allah, but still, like, it's a good thing for people to dive and cling to their faith and tradition. Christians, we should be doing this too. It was absolutely refreshing to see how much the men and women, they insert God in their normal conversations, affirmations, and just common pleasantries. They're constantly saying, God bless you. God is good. God has been good to me. God willing. We as Christians in America, we've been conditioned to keep all that to ourselves. I absolutely hate it. I hate that, right? I can't even say by the grace of God to describe my blessings in the workplace without someone like, what'd you say? I'm like, by the grace of God. You know, I got married by the grace of God. I've been blessed with a lot by the grace of God. Like, they can't fathom it. One of the reasons why I resent the whole tolerance and acceptance crowd is because they're only tolerant and accepting of the things that they like. And Christians and Christ is not one of them. John 15 verse 18 through 19 tells you all about it. Thus, we're told to keep our faith out of the workplace, schools, and even politics. But LGBTQ stuff, DEI, Black Pride, all that manner of woke stuff, that's prevalent in corporate society, schools, and politics. This never would have happened if more Americans knew the Bible. The traditions of our fathers and grandfathers came from the scriptures, whether they were Christians or not. The main reason that LGBTQ stuff rose in the 2000s is because most Americans forgot what the Bible says on adultery, sexual immorality, or homosexuality. I have the scriptures right here. For Islam, there is a right and wrong way, and it's dictated by their customs and Quran. This is important because it takes me back to the intro, alright? You can't be half in and half out. If you call yourself Muslim and want a traditional Muslim man, you have to be a traditional Muslim wife. As we're going to discuss with someone like Karma, a woman who claims that, oh, you know what, I come from a household where men don't see anything wrong with that, with wives belly dancing, it's going to come back to bite her, right? Again, you can't be half in and half out. This applies to Christians too. Oh, and a godly men. Okay, well, godly men believe in headship. Oh, I don't want that. All right, last point, and I'll wrap this video up. But respect and honor means everything. Respect and honor. What I liked about the men from Love is Blind Habibi is that they're very straightforward, right? They don't lie. They don't pretend. They don't coddle you. They don't just go along with nonsense if they don't like it, right? They understand what it means to have respect and honor. No, it doesn't mean they're perfect. I got to keep mentioning that because, oh, you keep praising men, but I saw something. Yeah, they have flaws. Everyone does. But let me use Chafic here as an example, the hammer to point home. Chafic came in as a smooth talker. He's from France. He won the hearts of a lot of ladies from the get-go. He was not perfect. One of his flaws was jealousy, right? But Rock, jealousy isn't good. Jealous men are possessive. Women are not property. You're right, jealousy isn't good, but we as humans do experience it. We don't want to, we'd rather avoid it, so that's why wise men choose to avoid women that put them in a position where they're constantly made to feel jealous. But for all his flaws, Chafic demonstrated how much respect and honor he has, not just for women, but for the other men. For example, one of the things I liked was between Chafic and Amar. They were both going after karma in the beginning. But Amar here, this good-looking stud, the dentist, he was like, man, I like karma. I'm going all in on her from the get-go. I'm not playing any games. I really like karma. Chafic was going after karma too. And he's like, okay, well, I see how much you like her. All right, so, you know what? He had a choice. If this is America, we've seen how it goes. It's every man for himself. We don't give a, no. We're here. No, I like her. You like her. All right, well, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get her. Whereas Shafiq's like, you know what? You like her. I see how much you love her. All right. So the next date, Chafic went to Karma and said, hey, I'm sorry, but I have to end things. All right. A friend of mine, my brother, he loves you too. So I have to let you go. Now, obviously, Karma didn't like that. Oh, it's not fair. I could see the women's side of that. But from men, I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like you, this isn't a brother that he grew up with. It's just a person that he had compassion for. That's awesome. Also, oh, well, Shafiq's, you know, he's possessive because he's a jealous type. All right, well, from that example, does he sound like the possessive type? You saw how easily he let go of Karma? Not possessive. Later, when Chafic landed on his decision to get engaged to Dunya, he shouted it. It was so funny to see, right? He's in the men's room where everyone's lounged around, and he just says, I love Dunya. Now, this is the first time for a show because the walls were so thin. As he says he loves Dunya, like they could hear it in the women's room. So all the women heard this. Dunya heard it. Obviously, her face lights up. She's so happy. Oh, I love you too, but you're making a fool of us. The other women that Chafic was courting, they didn't like that. You know, you can see their faces just like, that son of a gun. So the next time one of those ladies saw Chafic, they call themselves trying to call him out, right? He said something along the lines of, oh, I see now. When you did that, I could see that you're just a player. And this is what Shafiq's response was. Me and my wife was like, this was Shafiq's response. He said, no, I'm not a player. What it proves is that I'm not a player because I have nothing to hide. You try to call him out in that BS saying, oh, you're a player. No, what a player openly says, I like this woman over all the women in front of all the other women. Dumb. And what I like about these guys on Love is Blind Habibi, if you haven't guessed by now, is that they remind me of myself. The culmination of religion, tradition, respect, and honor explain how I was when it came to dating and when it comes to finding a wife, all right? It is difficult here in America. All these stupid rules about what is or isn't acceptable. I saw dating as simple and clean. Know what you want and go for that and that alone. How you should go about it? By being yourself. Anything less or more is a lie. You're not only disrespecting yourself, but you're setting yourself up for failure because she's not falling in love for you. She's falling in love with the performance, who you're pretending to be. Lastly, it's always been a prominent thing of mine to lead by faith, right? If you call yourself a Christian, Christ comes first, all right? Jesus Christ said in scriptures that if you love your son, your brother, your whatever, if you love all that before me, you're not worthy of me. We take that to heart as Christians, those of us who actually want to live by faith and strive to do what's good in God's eyes. So that means that Christ comes before our girlfriend. If our girlfriend, the person that we're dating, disagrees with anything that we read in the Bible, and we have scriptures to back up what we're saying, you can't be like you have a choice. I'm like, okay, well, this is how I choose to live. So if you want to be with me, this is how I go. And in my next post, I'm going to talk about that because a lot of the criticism that the men have got was, oh, the men from Love is Blind Habibi, they're controlling and oppressive. No, they're not. I'm going to just cut to the chase. That's just a very childish argument that a lot of women make when they're faced with the decision of choosing between what you want and what you don't want. Right? This is adults. You know, as an adult, you have to make a choice. If the man you like says he doesn't want a chest tattoo, but you want to get a chest tattoo, you have a choice. And to say, oh, you should forget what you want and do what I want, you're now controlling. But no, you can't have that. So then you project. Oh, you're controlling because you don't want me to do what I want to do. And the men, as you're going to see in Love is Blind Habibi, check out, subscribe. But they basically give these ladies a choice. I'm like, hey, there's no gun to your head. I'm not trying to force you to do what you don't want to do. I'm just saying, this is how I live. If you want to be with me, this is it. And for a lot of people say, oh, well, it's messed up. That's how we're called to live. If you call yourself a Christian or a traditional or conservative, this is how we're called to live. Men are supposed to be the head of our household. The scripture's right here, and it's written in 4 different books by 2 different authors. So it's not to be, oh, well, that's just you're misinterpreting scriptures. No, it's not. You just don't like it. And again, that's not your problem with me, the ones who's obeying. Your problem is with God who wrote it and gave us the word. So I'll leave it there. Feel free to subscribe to me. I hope you like this video. And again, I had to put this video out because I've just seen so many videos where you see it from the women's perspective, but I don't see a lot of men talking about it. And I think a lot of men should pay attention because here in America, like you don't, again, there's not a lot of examples where you can learn from, because almost every, like there's an example of Love is Blind, not Love is Blind, there's an example from Pop the Balloon recently where there's one guy who stands up and says, hey, I don't accept the single motherhoods, where all the other guys are like, hey man, I got nothing to say, man, I got cowards. All right, so stay tuned.